So you like my little kid? He was.
Yes, I laughed so hard. Like, what? That was so funny. So, hello, everyone on the Facebook Live. We are starting the show. Thank you all for tuning in as usual. It's the Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream show, and we are getting ready to broadcast live from WHPR 88.1. Okay, so I have in the studio with me Minister Anthony Jones, and we're going to talk a little bit about, you've heard of people saying that, the Father is present but absent, but he was absent yet present. So we're going to talk about that right after we hear this song, Your Daddy Loves You by Gil Scott-Heron. And some of my younger followers might not even know about Gil Scott, but you want to talk about a revolution? You can listen to some of his music and we can definitely come together and get something going, because he definitely did a good job of depicting those things through music and song. So did Curtis Mayfield. So once Your Daddy Loves You goes off the air, we will be going live. And here's our baby.
There she is. Without a minute to spare.
Come a little bit closer to me, sweetie, so I can make sure you're in the camera. There you go. How are you?
My hair getting big. I'm wearing my frozen. That's my goal.
Yeah, we can see you too, so that's good. Alrighty. So the show is just pretty straightforward. Start out with the intro and then the song. Once this song finished playing, we're gonna go live. So we're actually live on Facebook right now, though, with my new camera. So we have Paris in here. Peace and love. You know how Paris gets down. So, a free mind. Yeah. And so I'm happy to have her and her dad in the studio. This is going to be a great, great show. I'm excited. Man, I'm tearing up. I'm so excited to just see the unity between the two of them and the energy that I feel in the room. And I know what it's like, because I didn't meet my real father until I was 30 years old. So I have an idea of what that's like. So we're going to get into the show in just a few minutes. Thank you for tuning in on the Facebook Live. We are just waiting for the engineer to cue this song down and cue us up for all of the listeners who are listening on 88.1 FM. And we will be ready to go shortly. Did you want to go live, sweetie? You can.
I'm nervous.
Don't be.
I've been shaking all day.
Don't
Live, right?
Don't shake.
I'll tell you about all that after.
I promised the people that we was going to be as transparent as it gets.
Oh, yes. I'm in the season of transparency.
Good. Even to the point of where your mama used to slap you because you look like me. Let's give it up. Don't look so surprised.
Out of a wooden chair.
You all ready?
Yes, we are.
Sir.
All right, you're live.
Well, good evening. Thank you for tuning in to 88.1 FM, Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream, Straight Talk with Valerie. I am Valerie Bonner, and I have in the studio with me Minister Anthony Jones and his daughter, Paris, a free mind Jones. Paris is wonderful with spoken word and breaking chains, and I've seen her do a spoken word piece where she broke chains. I had no idea some of the chains that had been broken at that time. But before we get into her dad telling his role of being absent but present, I want to pay homage to my dad. Father's Day is coming up, and those of you who've been following the show, you know that I lost my dad maybe about 6 weeks ago. I can say about, because I try not to keep count. It's painful enough for me to be without him, so I definitely don't want to remember every moment of it and every date and, all of that stuff. It's just I'm cherishing the bond that we have. It's no secret that that was my stepdad, but he stepped up at the age of 1. And when him and my mom divorced and when I was in 3rd grade, he kept stepping up. until the day he died a month ago. So he put the step in stepdad. And I never knew that he was not my real dad until his mom decided to let me know that when I was in the 3rd grade, because she couldn't really step to my mom, so she stepped to me. However, this show is about being absent but present. So let's get started. Would you like to just say hello, give a shout out to
everybody. Hey, everybody.
Hi, Zion. I hope you're watching.
Yeah, we're happy to be here, especially to kick off what I like to call Father's Day week, because we're coming up on it. We need a whole week to catch up with the celebration that mothers get, So
we did it big, too.
And you're talking about,
yeah, fathers get one day, mothers get like
a whole month.
Yes.
So thank you both for being here. Absentee father is a pandemic, especially in the Black community, and it comes about for many different reasons: the military, work, death, divorce, and incarceration.
Yeah.
And so I want you to start out, Minister Jones, talking about how you became absent from Paris.
And that's good, because you talked about incarceration, you mentioned that, and that is the major key for us when it came to my absence. But from the age of 6 to 26 of my daughter's life, I was gone, absent, incarcerated, locked up, 20 years of her life. Even prior to that, I was more involved with the streets, friends, and other things than being at home where I should have been. So the end result of that was getting locked up, serving a time of 20 to 30 years. And at that time, it was obvious to me, the fall of 1991, and I realized, I said, I'm about to go to prison. And I was watching my daughter and the woman I thought was going to be with me the rest of my life, and her daughter. And I was like, I got everybody that I want in my life together, and I'm about to go to prison. And I stepped away because I didn't want anybody to see me tear up like I'm almost about to do now. But the point is that the absence hurts everybody, but especially your children. It really hurts them because they have no one that they can trust, no one they can count on, no one they can lean on, no one they can look up to with assurance that it's the right person.
Because we look at a father as a protector, and we look at a father that has a certain role of power and strength,
affirmation,
and all of that, right? And so I have conversations with people all the time, and they'll say, a woman can raise a man. No, she can provide for one, but she cannot teach him how to be a man. There are certain things that a child gets from mom and dad, regardless of the sex. But there's still some nurturing and everything that a daughter needs from her dad. So even though, yes, she had her mom to teach her how to be a woman, how to comb her hair, what is your cycle about, what you're supposed to do, things like that. But it's still something that a girl needs from her father.
Exactly. And the thing that I know for sure a girl needs from her dad is an example of what a man is. Because whoever you are to your daughter, that's who she's going to look for in a man. She's going to look for, if you're a bad guy, she's going to look for a bad guy. If you're a good guy, she's going to look for a good guy. If you're a rowdy guy, she's going to look for a rowdy guy, because this is her norm because of you. In my case, I was absent. So the question that used to be in my head, I wrestled with it, and I found out it was just a monster in my dreams, so I left it alone. Who's being the role model in my daughter's life right now?
Wow.
Or how many role models does my daughter have right now? And this question started when I received a letter from my daughter while incarcerated that explained to me that I understood who I was leaving her in the hands of, what the streets had to offer her, and I decided to make the choices I made and abandon her. Not only did my heart break, it dropped on the ground.
You wrote that letter
At 16.
Can you tell us about what was going through your mind at the moment, and how did you get to that point of writing that letter?
Well, let me not say I've always, because at the point of me writing that letter, I fell off. I became a horrible daughter. Before then, my dad would always send me envelopes when he wrote me. That way you don't have an excuse not to write back. We've always had good communication, but at that point, it was a lot going on. My sister had just got killed, domestic violence. Her husband killed her, killed himself. Chaos was going on in the family. I'm transitioning. I'm 16. I'm going through all kind of emotions. I'm trying to date, can't date. Then, me and my mom, we have a good relationship, but we bump heads. And when we bump heads, we bump them heavy. But that was mom. She always kept a roof over her head. But I can't go with daddy. I had very good role models in my life. I had men that stepped up even enough to have a conversation with my daddy. But regardless to whatever was happening, I still felt like he abandoned me. If you were here, things would have been a little different, because I was going through, excuse my French, but hell, literally, because of the things that him and my mom went through. And he said be transparent, because of the things that he took my mother through, because of the choices he decided to make, the way he decided to react when they were going through. So, like I said in my poem all the time, I got trust issues. Knowing has become my obsession. I've spent my whole life trying to figure out why I'm a certain way, because I didn't want to be like my mama, but in real life, I was being like my daddy. And I didn't know my daddy beyond words. It was we had visits and everything, but it was exciting. I'm going to see my dad. Little kid all the way up until I was 16. When I got hips and stuff, I didn't want to go in there no more. They got to pat me down, and oh no, this your fault. I got to go out my way. I want to go hang out with my friends, but I got to go visit my daddy. I was on the phone with my daddy my college career more than I was at parties. Every 15-minute phone calls, we on the phone. That's how active he was in my life.
Wow.
But he wasn't there. He would call me and say, what was going on at 5 o'clock on such and such date? And it sure enough be something going on. And I'll run it down to him, and he'll tell me he would feel it, he would see it, but I didn't feel that yet.
So you had that type of intuition.
Yes, indeed. And, I have to attribute that to the Holy Spirit, of course. And that's another thing that fathers have to understand. Fathers should be the person that introduces their daughter to God. He should be that person. Why? Because in our society and through Scripture as well, God is considered to be who? Our Father. So if you are a bad father, and then people want to press upon your daughter about God the Father, what do you think? They're going to push back.
Associate that with
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, it's interesting that you made that correlation, because my mother was the strong person in the household when my father was, my stepdad, who is my dad, and my father was in the household, but my mom still was that dominant one making all the decisions and stuff. So, my mom was my first God before I knew a God. Because whatever I needed to make happen, whatever I wanted, she was there. But she also became my first devil. Because of that first heartbreak, that first bad experience was with her. So to that introduction to a spirit, because I'm going to tell you, I got my ass beat to the degree that I didn't think God was real, because I go in the bathroom and pray like, Lord, please don't let this woman whip me. And I stay in there until I couldn't stay in there any longer. It's like, bring your ass out and come and get what I got for you. And I come out and I still get hit. I didn't think God was real, because no one ever explained to me how that works. But now I know that was part of my journey that lands me where I am now, and how I can be so effective with what I'm saying and doing and influence other people.
And that's because people want to dictate to God what to do. Rescue me, God. But God's saying, okay, maybe I don't need to rescue you so I can toughen you up in the area. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the truth, but there's also an alternative. I'm the God that's going to see you through this. not necessarily get you out of it, but see you through it. So there's alternatives to that. And that's what I experienced doing 20 flat years in prison. Every day I was expecting them to call me and say, it's over, you can go home. But that never happened. 20 years and 2 days, it never happened. So I learned to deal with it with the help of God. I learned to turn inward and understand who he was developing me to be through the hardship that I was going through by choice, because I did what I did. So it was by choice. But when my daughter, just talking about the father and daughter thing, when my daughter stopped visiting me, stopped making herself available to the phone calls that were only one way, because you can't call the prison and ask to speak to somebody. I had to make the call. So she knew when I would be calling, because I would leave a message. Let her know I'm going to be calling such and such a time. Never available. I had a choice. Let it go or keep trying. But no one understands what motivated me. Like you said, you found out about your father at the age of 30, I think you said. Well, I found out about my father a few months before I was released from prison, when I was in my 50s. And I still have not met him.
Wow.
I just saw a picture of him a few months ago for the first time, and at that time I learned that he was deceased in 2015. But that's my motivation, not to be that guy.
Wow, that's
I cannot
powerful.
be that guy.
Right.
No
So
matter.
despite even the mistakes you made, like, I'm still not going to be him. So I'm just
Exactly.
going to press on. And that's really cool. So
He did too, and he
Yeah.
still do.
I would write
All
letters.
his letters he would put, if I could, if I could, if I could, if I could. I used to. He would call Daddy, I need some money. I would give some money. He was there. If I opened my mouth, he was there, and he never stopped calling. He never stopped writing. And after a while, he stopped pressing so hard, but he never stopped. He never ever stopped.
he was persistent.
My
Have to
first
be.
Even
diamond
though the
still came
consistency
from my
changed,
daddy. He
right?
was on the
I learned
inside.
something. I learned something about not just women, but people. By nature, we're nosy. So if I write a letter, you're going to read it from beginning to end.
Right.
And there's no back talking the letter. You read the letter, you take the content in, you throw away what you don't want, but what's real, you can't help but hold on to it. And I found out that I was doing something good when my daughter finally did come around. And she said, I share my letters with your letters with my sisters to help. It helped me raise them in ways that no one was there for me. So that made me feel good. But at the same time, I felt bad because I made a choice that caused me to be absent from 6 to 26. That is something I can't get back. But all I can do is be who I am, represent, show up, and I'm not out here to tell her what to do and how to run her life, but I'm just here to give her the advice so that she can make some wise choices, and I hope she does.
And as we prepare for this break, I thank you guys for being. I'm sitting here choking back tears, and I'm trying to figure out where they're
Don't
coming
cry.
from. Like, are they mine from my experience being separated from my dad, or what am I feeling? Because it was quite interesting. My mom did what was best for her, not necessarily what was best for us. But as I look at how my siblings that are by my biological dad, how we differ, I wouldn't trade who I am.
Yeah, you can't.
Right.
I wouldn't trade.
I wouldn't trade.
I wouldn't.
So that was part of the process for me to get to where I am today. So we're going to prepare for break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more to Minister Anthony Jones and Paris A Free Mind Jones. You have been listening to 88.1 FM WHPR. This is the Black Coffee, no sugar, no cream. Straight talk with Valerie, and we'll be back.
Straight talk.
Right. She got the voice. Can I have my tea?
So hello, everyone on the live.
Thank you.
You are here with Paris Jones. So everyone from Inkster, Inktown, you know who Paris is. Paris works really hard in the community, doing a lot of stuff with CUP on her own, volunteering. So I'm happy to have her here and her dad today. telling this story and being real transparent with us on today. So I'm happy to have them. And I hope that this story enlightens a woman out there who may be keeping their child from the father. He's not incarcerated. He may not be doing the things that you want done. I'm telling you from my heart, that's not the right thing to do. Let that child see their father, unless he's molesting them or doing something to them inappropriate. That's different. But it's just because you upset or you don't feel like he's doing what he's supposed to be doing and no physical harm can be done to the child. I think you might want to consider how to bridge that relationship, because I'm telling you, it took me a long time to get rid of that bitterness I had towards my mom from keeping me away from my dad when I found out my stepdad is not my dad. You know, so who am I? I'm walking around trying to figure out that.
Yeah, and you know, people don't realize it. A dad can be absent from a kid's life and never do anything for that kid for years. And immediately, once that dad appears or shows up, everything is forgotten. And he becomes a hero all over again because they're so excited and so happy to see him. Because it's dad. It's dad.
I'm 33 and it's still daddy. I call him like I don't call you. Why you ain't been calling me? I call myself the only other one.
Is she your only child?
She's the only child.
Wow.
The first living child. My dad and my mom miscarried more than several, 8.
We had 5 kids to have her.
And I'm a twin.
And she's a twin that did not, the pregnancy did not show twins. There was her mother weak cervix, so immediately she experienced labor pains and all of those things, like in the first couple of weeks of the pregnancy. So a couple of weeks, and I say 6 or 8 weeks in, maybe 2 months, something like that, she says, I'm in labor, I have to go. I'm tired, no way, you know. So she kept going, so just to satisfy her, we took off, we went to the hospital. We had to drive to Ann Arbor because, you know, that's where we were because of the special conditions. And we get there, and the doctor says that the baby has aborted itself. And we have to remove the fragments. So she clenches me by the arm. No, I have 2. Never showed up, no heartbeat, no nothing. No paperwork verifying this.
You all ready?
Yes, we are.
All right, you're live.
Welcome back to 88.1 FM WHPR. You are listening to the Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream show, Straight Talk with Valerie. We're coming black and strong and real about the absent father. And during the break, we had a conversation, and we were talking about the blessing that Paris was.
Indeed.
And not just because she is his daughter, but how she got here.
Indeed. And that is just as simple, I'll say, that this we had 5 kids to have Paris. Stillborn, we had one that lived 4 hours, and we had another stillborn, and then there was Paris and a twin that was not detected by medical science. No heartbeat, no movement, no indication through ultrasound, and Paris's mother felt like she was having a labor pains, and we went to the hospital, and they said the baby aborted itself, and they were going to remove the fragments. And because of the fuss that Paris's mother put up, I asked a question to the head doctor at the University of Michigan, and I'll never forget her name because she was Dr. Jones. And she said that the question I asked was, if you don't remove the fragments, what will it do to her, to the mother? She said, she'll probably have some minor aches and pains, like a tummy ache, as she put it. And I said, well, we're going home. So the fragments passed, as you can imagine, and things like that. And at 4 months into the pregnancy, Paris was born.
Wow.
They never even saw me.
Never.
It's like now they're not going to see me coming.
Yeah.
Nobody saw me.
Yeah.
Nobody
That's
saw
deep,
that
though.
coming. That's deep.
Yeah, it's
That's
how
deep.
it happened.
And I
How it
just
happened.
found out the contents of that story because, again, with absent father, life, everything. So my memory is like all mixed up and contorted. I have like memories from age 6 that I'll talk to my dad and really this happened like 3 or 4. So I always knew I was a twin. I always knew that I was a preemie. And then when Zion went through everything that she did to get here, I started asking questions. And maybe about a year ago, I was telling my dad about my book. And I was like, okay, I need detail for detail. Tell me how I was born. I'm the first living child. That's when I started saying I'm the only other one.
Yeah.
Because even my mom, she get on me. Call your dad more. Do this. You his only child. Well, you know it's hard on you because you his only child. Like it's the push there. So I sat down. He gave me the rundown. I said, oh, okay. And then this world thought they was gonna take my baby out the same way.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We got a hold of something good.
Yeah. We're not gonna let that happen.
Yeah.
Not gonna let that happen.
So let's talk a little bit about, so you were going to see him regularly. He was writing you, calling consistently, like you can almost predict the cause, and then you just stopped going. You didn't want to go. Tell me about that moment when you had that epiphany, like, you know what, I need to go back. I need to connect. What inspired that?
Drama. I kept hearing how much I was like my dad, and you just like your dad. Now I'm older. We starting to have real conversations, and I'm feeling some kind of way because my hips is getting wide, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And also, I'm getting older now. I am coming in contact with men and friends that have been on the inside with my dad. They're telling me about myself from my dad. They telling me about pictures and different things, and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, okay. I even almost dated a guy that was locked up with my dad, and he remembered a picture my daddy had on the wall. I have not seen that man since because of the respect he had for my father. So I'm like, okay. Now keep in mind, although it was rocky because of me being my father's child, my mama still pushed me to stay in contact.
And
even as a
good.
child, she was the one that combed my hair the day before, got my clothes ready, made sure I was up. And it was no mess to talk until, we got into a spat, and then it would come up. But
and how she said, your daddy may not be no good, but you better talk to him.
You better answer the phone.
And that's real,
she
though.
Pick up my phone and give it to me.
As we talked a little bit over the break, like, just because the father is no longer good to you, that's still that child's daddy.
That's still daddy.
And I say if they're not causing physical harm, like molestation or beating them or whatever, it don't matter. There's no reason, because what's going to end up happening is aggression and hatred and bitterness will be towards, it's just through the grace of God I got past that with my mom. But I was feeling some type of way about it. Like, okay, where is my dad at?
Feeling deprived.
Yeah.
I'm glad she got back with me when she did, because some of our beginning conversations were about her interactions with men or boys at that time, because they were teenagers. They were trying to talk to her, and she was just like the show. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream, straight talk.
I ain't got no
Get up off me. I ain't no. And I told her, I said, you can still say no without being so aggressive, because some of these guys are already out of control in their own mind. So you have to let them down easy, or you could find yourself beat to death, shot, stabbed. These guys are that's how they are. I recall a time on the east side of Detroit a few years ago. The guy asked a girl to dance. She didn't want to dance with him, and he shot her in the face.
Oh my
So, and
Lord.
that was my advice to her, was years before something like this happened, because sitting inside for 20 years, I'm hearing a lot of stories, and I'm seeing the nature of a lot of guys, or should I say, the spirit that's on a lot of guys. They don't care about females. It's self-gratification. So you have to be their friend at a distance. Always treat them good, but turn them down if that's what your intention is, and turn them down up front. Don't mislead and try to duck and hide. She used to say, I give them another person's phone number, and I said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Just tell them no.
Come on, hurry up, walk away before they call the phone. They realize it's not mine. And he's downplaying it, because I even have a poem about it. I had daddy issues like
Yeah.
serious daddy issues. So I'm like anti everything, like and I was aggressive with it. And because I was angry, the same mouth that lift people up, that mouth would rip somebody in half. And I was rude with it. I almost got into a physical altercation with a 6-foot man because I had on little bitty shorts with the butt out they wanted to grab. Your butt out, why wouldn't they try to grab it? But I didn't see it like that, and I told my daddy about it like I was something hot. Oh, and he grabbed and how I reacted. My daddy said, look, I'm going to tell you this. Don't put your hands on no man unless he's trying to kill you. And I said, From that day forward, I held on to that, and I did it in a different way. I still got a fake number because they are out here shooting women, and my sister, God rest her soul, when she was younger, she got gasoline sprayed all over her because she didn't want to give somebody her number.
Wow.
So
it's
that
real.
is really
It's a different
crazy.
kind
The
of crazy.
coercion, you
Yeah.
know, like you're just gonna make me want to be with you or
But
whatever.
that's why you have to have that you have to have
That's
your
what
father,
the father is for,
to
yeah.
tell you about the mentality of men, because even if your dad is not the way that other men are, he's in their environment, he's in their presence, he's in their he understands them because he's around them. Men are just like women talk. Men are more open when they're just men in the room. So if I'm not that way, I understand what they're up to, what they're
and
into.
then having a verbal relationship with my father, at one point in time I felt like I was outsmarting men, and subconsciously I ended up, every man that I was with prior to now has been who my father was in one way, shape, or form.
Wow, that's deep.
The abuser, the manipulator, the brainwasher, the Rico Suave guy that really ain't about 2 cents, the go-getter, all of them.
I'm glad you listed that because I
All
was
of
thinking
them.
that's not good.
I mean, seriously.
That's not good if you
all
want
of them.
parts of my past.
Yeah, all the way up until, and then it's like to sit back, and it took me watching my dad while I was going through a situation where, whether I was right or wrong, I felt like he should have still been right here with me. You owe me something. That's how I felt at that time. I had a chip on my shoulder, and I watched him connect with somebody while we were going through something, and it made me look at him. And it was this comment made about a dip in the bed, sitting by your bedside when you locked up, and it bothered me to my core. I said, I'm dating my daddy. I'm dating my dad that was with my mom. My life not supposed to be like this. My mom and my daddy was married when I was born, in the church, on fire, but here I am. My mama was my daddy. My mom, she did a good job. We moved around a lot. We this, we that. We were never separated. We were never in the state. She would down talk our dads to us, but she would still encourage us to go. She was going through her emotions.
Because that was her relationship with
Yeah.
them, but that had nothing to
She
do
let
with.
us know how she felt, but
Yeah.
she still wanted us to have our own. Even with my sisters, they go through issues where my sisters don't even communicate with their fathers.
Yeah.
My father stepped in. It's still a reserve because it's still not their dad, but my mama can't stand them. I can't stand them. I don't like the way they operated. But however it goes, she still encouraged them. When they have something going on, she still, to this day, and we all grown, she will call them. Oh, well, did you see? Well, did you say something? But still, you weren't here, and I had to go through certain stuff that I shouldn't have had to go through because you were not here. Those times where she was alone and she could have picked up the phone and called daddy, we gotta wait for after count time for you to call, and then we gotta wait for it to be processed. But God blessed, because my granny stepped in, she showed up, and she showed out.
Would that be your mom?
That would be
Yes.
my mom.
Okay.
Yep.
She did.
Her twin.
All the way down. I am her. The pictures y'all see, the light-skinned lady with the face look like me and the curly hair, that's my granny.
Yeah.
Berta May, she held it down.
And you talk about history. Paris's current job is the last job that my mother had. And she didn't know it when she got the job. Paris did not know that she was in the same department in the same office on the same street, working for the same city of Inkster Housing that my mom worked for.
Wow.
She did not
I
know.
had no clue.
And that's another thing that gave me, after being called out about abandoning Paris, it came to my heart that not only did I abandon her, but I left her to follow the only thing I left behind. So in scripture, in the word, we consider it breaking generational curses. So I decided that I was going to draw a line in the dirt, and everything that happened in my past on the other side of that line was not going to cross over into another generation that comes from my seed. So when I have the inclination to do the wrong thing, I have to remember that I'm going to open the gate and allow my daughter to be everything I used to be. So I refuse to be anything that I used to be. Don't get me wrong, we slip and we slide, you know, because we're still dealing with the emotions, we're still dealing with the urges of the flesh, but the number one thing is to live the life you talk about. And I know when I return to society, Paris was watching me to see if I was going to be the man that wrote the letters.
Ooh, I was on it.
Wow.
I knew it.
That was powerful.
I was.
You know, and I always say,
I was on your head.
we are our environment, whether that is our geographical environment or a product of the environment within our household, you know, genetically or whatever. We are that, and we can't help that.
Mm-hmm.
But we can take responsibility for who we become.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right? We can take, and that's what I hear you saying.
You have to.
Like, I was what I was. I did what I did. But now I'm going to take full responsibility for that. You've done your time. So you paid your debt to society, but also to your daughter. Like, there was some redemption.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, I'm not, okay, I did what I did. I love how you walk in your truth. You're not trying to scapegoat, you know, or nothing. This is it. I did what I did.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to be persistent with her, and I'm going to try. So that's when I was thinking about titling the show, and that's why I said, wow, absent but present.
Absent, that's great. When I first heard you say that, that describes our relationship. Even now, I'm not every day all over my daughter because I've been gone for so long. But when I feel like I need to reach out, I reach out. And when she reaches out, I listen to what's inside of me first before I listen to her, because I don't know whether I'm supposed to be all ears or listen close enough to give up some advice.
So that's why you be
Well, you
quiet
can
on the
always
phone.
ask, like, well, do you want my opinion, or am I supposed to be just listening? So
She
that's
don't always
kind
know.
of cool.
I
Okay.
call them with hats now. Okay, I
Yeah.
need you to put your friend hat on, Daddy. All right, look, Daddy, this Daddy calling.
Yeah, yeah.
You
You're
know
my,
what
you're
hat
my
to put on.
pastor right now.
Okay,
So
we have all different ones. Even it don't matter what it is. I'll call the most uncomfortable stuff, the girl stuff. And he'd be like,
All of
I
it.
don't know, call and ask your mama. Or
All
hold
of
on,
it.
let
She
me
said,
put
but I
Mama
want
T on the
you
phone.
to tell me.
I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I need to know. We got the same kind of skin.
Yeah.
You know.
I love
it's
that,
big.
though. You know, the bond that you guys have. I did not know your story. I first met you at Gethsemane
Yes.
when
yes.
I was speaking about something there. It was the Survivors Speak, I
I
believe,
missed
in
it all. I
unmasking.
came in late.
Yeah, unmasking.
But I would not have known that this took place
You know, stuck in the chain.
by the bond. Yeah, but I heard all of that
That's
and
him.
everything. But when I walked into that church and the glory, you had like, I want you to meet my daddy. It didn't come from a place of like,
Who's been this?
yeah, I
and
want you
did
to
that.
meet my daddy.
Right.
You know, who's
He
been
here,
he
right?
over here. You know, it was like I want like a little girl who's really happy and proud of her father.
And what did I
Like
used to
I want
ask
you to meet
do?
my
Save
daddy.
you some little girl. I
Save
saved
me
a lot.
some little
I had
girl.
a whole baby.
Yes, because
Yeah.
Zion is your whole mini me all
That's
over
my
again.
kid, yeah.
You're listening to 88.1 FM WHPR. This is the Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream show. Straight Talk with Valerie. We're talking about a father who was absent, incarcerated for 20 years and 2 days, but still present in his daughter's life with consistency, love, being unified with her, showing her respect. Man, I'm just overwhelmed with joy to hear the story.
She's a piece of work.
Yeah,
Well,
we bumped heads.
Oh my!
I had my if you're gonna be disrespectful, don't call me no more, and didn't call my daddy since he been home. We went through our emotions. At first, it was I was everywhere he was, and he wanted me to be everywhere. And then I wasn't supposed to move back here, so I was still out of state when he came home. So it was like, visiting in and out type situations. And then when I came back, it's consistent. We were roommates, still daddy-daughter, going through everything, but it was on a whole different level. I got disrespectful. I've been rude. I've been a brat. I've been a whiny. I went through all of the emotions that I would have went through as a child.
As a child, I get that.
But I can't let her take all of the responsibility, because there was a time where I could say that it was a pivotal point in my release where, everybody say don't try to catch up, don't try to make up for time. I wasn't trying to make up for time, but at the same time, I lost track of what was going on, and I was spending without thinking. I was impulsive with my thinking and with my spending. I was impulsive with my spending, and like she said, we were roommates, and we were behind on everything because she was trusting daddy, giving daddy the money, and I'm like, I got this big wad of money, and I'm not gonna spend it all. I know I got all these bills, but the mistake I was making was having it in my pocket, and I was spending wherever I went, and I was coming up short. And when it was revealed, I had to take the smaller chair, so to speak, and she read me the riot act and told me how you don't do this and you don't do that, and if you're going to do this, and if something goes wrong, you're supposed to let somebody know, and you can't let it get this bad. And I had to sit there.
And you sitting there like you the kid and she the parent.
Exactly, mouth closed, taking it all in, because she was right. But it was a pivotal point on my return, because I could have continued to be that reckless with money, but it's not anymore, because that saved me, that helped me. And she thinks I don't know, and this is on the radio show that I'm revealing it. We were I took her to a place to do spoken word, and she decided not to, on the north end, right? And she decided not to, but we still had a good time and everything. And on the way home, I was sleepy, and I turned the corner and fell asleep. She said, "Daddy," and I straightened out and we left. But what she did, she thought that I was back on drugs again. She called Tom Adams.
She called the big gun.
She called my people.
Oh, wow.
And said, I'm not sure. And they called me in, and I broke it down to them. I said, yeah, we've been hanging, I had a few drinks here and there, but nothing serious. I'm not doing anything crazy or nothing like that. I was sleepy that night.
Man.
And since then, I will not allow my daughter to see me sip anything if I did. I won't allow her to see me in places that are inappropriate, because I don't want her to ever think or feel that I might be headed in that direction, because I don't know where it would take her.
Wow.
And you didn't know I knew, did you?
I was mad at them too. I called them for about a week. Y'all not doing nothing. Something is wrong. I was calling Terry. I called everybody I knew was important.
You called several people that are part of Chance for Life.
But she
I went to the people that
was
I knew
dedicated
was
That's
wrong.
right.
to you, and she did not want to go back down that road, because even though you guys had took the step towards unification, that still was healing. That was like peeling a scab off for her.
Exactly.
Like, whoa, so she's bleeding out. Like, hey, I don't want this to
sense
happen.
To me. What happened didn't make sense. One thing we have always had that was never taken away was communication. And the situation that he talked about, it was so severe because of lack of communication with the one person that I was 28 at the time, I think, 28, 29. And my whole entire lifespan, you're the only person that's communicating and then you don't communicate. I was confused. It didn't make sense logically. It didn't make sense biblically. It didn't make sense in any area that I went in, and there was no why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I went all the way back to the male illusion. That's what I call it. I got this figured out. As soon as then nobody knows. I can straighten it out. As soon as this one little thing happens for me, all the money will be straight.
You taught me how to
It
take care of
never
business.
happens. Yes, I did.
My grandma on my mama's side, she's the lady that keep all the envelopes with all her stuff in, and I'm a messy person, so we got the organizer. I don't have to organize it. So when it all fall down, I know you organized. Come on, let me see that in them papers and stuff. Then he made me wait. At the time, Zion was just born and I was on restriction, so I was quarantined to the house for a year, other than doctor's appointments and everything. So I didn't get out. So I'm sitting and I'm waiting, and the one person who now we have this ongoing joke, I call his phone so many times because now I can call you. I'm making up for. He wouldn't answer the phone.
So you know how that karma feels.
Yeah. And I be calling and texting
That's
at the
right.
same time.
Like, I've been calling you too.
When I call his phone, it say, "Daddy, pick up the phone. Daddy, it's me. You gonna pick up the phone?"
Right,
He
right.
recorded my voice, but that was big to me.
Wow. Well, you have been listening to Minister Anthony Jones and his daughter, Paris Free Mind Jones, tell their journey of separation because of incarceration to being unified and being one, showing love and respect for one another. So we're going to prepare for another break. This song is Color Him Father by the Winstons. And I purposely selected that because that's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to color him father.
Put the life
I'm going to
back
put
in
the
him.
life back in
Yeah.
him. And this is going to be depicted the father that I want. And you decided I'm going to be this person for my daughter.
Mhm.
So I thought that this song was very fitting for the occasion. So we're going to go to break and we'll be back.
All right.
It's a good song.
And I didn't tell you too, because she said, "Oh, and just because you fessed up, don't mean you're not gonna pay me back."
Oh, hey, then
She
I'm about to
said,
spit
I
water.
got it broke down. So how much do you think you can pay each payment? And she was right there.
Like I need
Peel
that
it off.
bread.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you pay back every dime.
Yeah.
You didn't even try
But
to
you
give me some
needed that.
extra, some
I
extra
did,
payment.
because it could have been who I am with money. You know, it was a pivotal point. I mean, the thing, you know, what it was really all about is that I had money in my pocket. I wasn't locked up, and I could do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know? And I got a job. I can put this back. But yeah, you've taken out more than you can put back without sacrificing some other bill that you have. You know, car note, insurance.
And that's what he talk about all the bad stuff. In the midst of everything, he came out here and got it done. He was home November, December, January, February, March, April. Within 5 months, he had a job. He been working for the same job since he was released, which I don't believe in irony, but it's you work for Crime Stoppers. He was the first. He was still a felon at the time on paper.
I know that story.
And went into a federal penitentiary through outreach. That's not allowed.
I know.
He was out here talking. He was telling his stories.
So I do give kudos to Mr. Tom Adams, the respect he has garnered with that criminal justice system to get that to happen. And, you know, I met with him a week or so ago, and I'm hoping that we can get together and do some great things. But I was, and thank you also, because he said that you did get a chance to speak with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I spoke to Minister Jones about you. It was a good conversation. So I thank you for that, too.
He's good dude.
Yeah.
He likes the idea. I talked to him after you were there. Like I told you, I was going by the next day. And I talked to him. He said it was a good meeting. And he likes the fact that everybody at the table is doing something different. But the same thing was something in different areas. So it can work.
Yeah, because I definitely don't want to do what he's doing.
Exactly.
You know, give me the family and the kids and strengthen that piece. And if you're working with, you the inmate didn't let me have the other pieces, right? And so
Just like Jesse, right?
I think it's going to be a great partnership once we put the framework together and go after it. And I just kind of see you having a role in the whole project as well. So
I'm counting on you.
hey.
All right, you're live.
You have been listening to Color Him Father by the Winstons, and that song was so appropriate, as I said before the break, because with the 20-year absence, 20-year and 2 days absence, there was a period that Paris indicated she stopped visiting her father, stopped receiving phone calls from him or whatever. So when he got out, there had to be this picture painted of him.
I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure.
And so to color you so vibrantly, but then for you, as we talked about before the break, when you did mess the money up a little bit, not in a bad way,
Right.
like drugs or whatever, just, hey, I'm spending.
Random
Because
spending.
I got money. I've been locked up for 20 years and 2 days.
Right.
I'm getting ready to, hey, let me pull my nut out right
You
quick,
couldn't tell me nothing.
Exactly. And I
grinding.
get that. So for her to set you down and say, hey, you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and for her to say, you have to pay me my money back, when can you get started and how much can you afford to pay?
Yeah.
And you said, all right, a lot of men, that's what makes a real man to me. Being able to show emotion, being able to be humble when the time is right and all of those things. Because not one time throughout this show, whether we were on air or off, did I ever hear you say, I'm your father, in a degree like, no, you will not talk to me like that because I'm your father. You said, I had to sit there and take it because she was right.
Exactly.
That doesn't happen a lot with parenting. They're like, no, you're not going to talk to me like that because I'm your mama.
Yeah.
Whether you're right or wrong. What I heard was, it stung a little bit.
A lot.
It felt like somebody put a cigarette out on you.
Like, wow,
But-
is this
Watching,
really
Daddy.
happening?
Auntie Earlene watching.
Okay, good. Hey, Earlene.
So that's really, really cool. We're basically about ready to close the show, man. We could have talked for 2 hours on this, but I do believe that what I wanted to happen did take place, and that was you can be absent but still present.
Yes.
With a strong influence. You don't have to get a response from what you put out. That's what I think fathers need to know. This has been duplicated by a younger man in prison. His daughter was 8 years old when he left, and she reached out to him when she was about 16 or 17. He said, I don't know what to do, man. Her mother keeps taking the letters. I said, keep writing. Keep writing. Keep writing, keep writing, keep writing. And when she finds out that you never stop writing, no matter what, she's going to be okay with you. He was released before me and wrote me back. He said, me and my daughter are going everywhere together because she said that you did not let my mom run you away.
Which is big because
You let her know
if
she
he
was
would have-
worth it.
Yeah.
That's it.
If he would have stopped in that time frame, I would have had a stigma. I wouldn't have cared what we went through or how close we was because I was still the one going through. I was the victim.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't have gave up. You gave
It's
up
not
on
about
me
me.
once before. It's not. So I think it's imperative that the fathers who do have the women that don't want the baby daddy around and all that messy stuff, don't stop. Because of him not stopping, it's a lot about me that is because of that. They didn't give up. And the kids, don't listen to everything your mama say.
Hey, say that again.
Don't be disrespectful, but don't listen to it.
Have your own mind and make
Yeah.
your own decision, because sometimes people only can speak from their perspective.
That's it. And
Right.
you have to be open. Stay open. Stay open. Always.
So, would you like to have any parting words as we prepare to end the show? Man, I wish we had more time.
When we come
Very
back,
compelling. I think we need to do a
Yeah.
part 2 and pick this up again. Thank you so much, Minister Jones, for being here, having that transparency, opening your heart up to all of the listeners. Paris, thank you also for just sharing. But that's who you are.
I know that
That's
I don't
who I
tell this
met.
story.
Yeah, I know you don't tell this story, but
That's so
I
special.
love
She
you.
will. She'll get
so
that book out.
much.
That's what she's gonna do.
I love her like a daughter. Like when we first met, there was this bond, and then your granddaughter, which is her daughter, I met her for the first time at Gethsemane Church,
Oh,
and
okay.
she turned around and was like, "Hi," and she hugged me,
Right.
and she prays for me. Like there's this connection that I
She was
have.
like with 3 or 4 then, right?
Yep.
She is
Yeah.
so wonderful. So
Yeah.
you have been listening to 88.1 WHPR FM, Black Coffee, No Sugar, No Cream. This show is entitled Absent but Present because it was about a father who was incarcerated for 20 years and 2 days of his daughter's life. But we sit here in this studio right now with them, leaving the past behind, building on that. They are unified, they love and respect each other, and there's a bond here that nothing can break. You guys have a great week. We will see you next Monday. It's Military Monday, and we have Judge Deborah Thomas scheduled to come on the show. We will be talking about Veterans Court and expungements. You guys have a great week. And remember, black coffee is not designed to spill the tea or make you feel dazed like you had a shot of cheap liquor. It's just for you to feel things strong and powerful from my point of view. Have a good week.
I love it.
All right. Thank you, everyone on the live for tuning in. And we're going to end this live. And we will see you guys next week. Take care.
All right. Hey, family. Happy